You don't look anything like him.
I know.
Let's get to work.
Okay.
Why are you dressed like my old archaeology professor?
No. I'm dressed as Indiana Jones.
That's him, Dr. Jones from Indiana. Anyway, what's the story?
Okay, the story is there's also a movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark starring a guy named Indiana Jones, and we're going to tackle some myths from that movie. First and foremost, his famous sidearm, the whip. We're going to look at some of the science of Indy's whip and some of the remarkable things he does with it. But the opening sequence of Raiders is where we're beginning. Indy is escaping from a South American temple that is attempting to kill him with all manner of booby traps, including our first test, a floor filled with pressure pads that shoots poison darts at Indy.
Well, sounds like fun. Let's get into it.
Okay.
In the exhilarating opening scene from the iconic 80s adventure story, there's a question to be answered. By simply running for it, would Indy really have escaped unharmed? And as a massive fan of the franchise, Adam's in his element.
We're going to do this temple run and really figure out if we truly can outrun the darts. We're going to need to know how long that run is going to be. So I'm going to look at some video, do some measurements, and actually work it up in a little diorama for little Indy Adam here. You can't tell, but he's totally psyched about it. This kind of work is something I used to do all the time in the film industry. It's all coming together. In the film industry, it's often used as a pre-visualization technique. Now I'm just having fun. Like, I will mock up a set in foam core just so I understand all of its dimensions before building it in the actual materials it'll be built in. Got hot glue threads on my face. Seeing something in that white space, for some reason to me, it's deeply, deeply satisfying. I put my head down and I can see what it looks like from different angles. It's like I'm building a playground for my brain. I've actually also learned a few things. I've carefully checked screenshots of Harrison Ford against many parts of the set, knowing how tall he is. I've determined that dart pads are about 40 inches long, and that room is about 30 feet long. If it's 30 feet long and the dart pads are the size they are, Harrison Ford, Indy, will encounter at least 16 of those pads, likely setting off 16 darts. That's how many he's got to outrun. That's how many we're going to set up. Did you notice that I managed to keep the label of the pipe facing the thing, so you really see 450 PSI? It's really shattering the illusion.
In the temple run, Indy gets shot at by Mayan poison darts, but because these are potentially lethal, I'm going to do the same thing using paintballs. 14. You know, I buy this crap salvaged, but who knew that 14 wasn't enough? I need 16. And so it's my job to figure out how to put together, a 16-gun, pressure pad-operated paintball gun array. I think those will work. This item right here is a solenoid switch. The wire gives power to an electromagnet, which opens the flow of air. These kinds of things are how we can fire pneumatic projectiles on cue. It works. I love it when I've got all the parts I need to put together something like this. The sequence is going to go like a barrel connected to a pipe nipple, a solenoid, and that will screw into one big long tube, and that'll be our air feed. And so it's just going to be like a little assembly line of, barrel, 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 and out comes the paintball and shoots us.
With the first of the 16 air-powered guns attached to its solenoid trigger,
Sounds kind of like a seal.
Adam arrives to up the pressure.
Dude, they arrived.
Oh, cool.
That is our pressure pad switch activation.
Well, let's check it out.
Point it that way. Pointing?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Oh!
That couldn't have worked any better.
Inside this pad is an electrical switch such that when you step on it, it completes a circuit like so. Now that opens the flow of air, and out comes the paintball, and we get shot when we step on the pad.
That is beautiful.
There we go.
Awesome.
That's how each gun will be triggered. The next step is to combine them into a single, coordinated, air-powered system.
This white tube is the air supply for our paintball gauntlet, which we'll be installing in the temple. Now, each one of these guns will be wired to its own pressure pad.
3, 2. Whoa! Beautiful.
Which, as we run along, will be setting off these guns one after the other while we possibly are screaming in pain.
That is going to hurt. Well, let's pack it up, put it on the truck, and take it out to the location.
Okay.
Before they pack up their Temple Run gun, while the team gets busy prefabricating a fake man temple, Adam and Jamie get cracking on another iconic Indy inquiry.
Well, good luck there, buddy. So whips.
Exactly. Indy's whip is like almost mythological. He does all sorts of incredible stuff, including one I think we should test, when he disarms an opponent with a gun using only the whip.
So would the whip be accurate enough, and would it hit the hand hard enough to knock the gun out of it or something?
Exactly. And I think the other thing we should look at is the opening sequence when he loops the whip around a log and swings across a chasm. Is that really possible?
Yeah, I wonder whether the whip would actually have enough grip. And then if it did, how are you going to get it off?
I think we need to deeply look into the science of whips.
Whoosh.
If we're going to put whips through their paces in this episode, we're going to need, wait a minute, whips. Whip making is something I taught myself about 17 years ago. I built the whip I'd always wanted from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and to start this episode, I'm going to build the first whip. This is kangaroo hide. Don't let anyone tell you any different. This is the strongest leather in the world.
Whip making is an art for which Adam clearly has a passion.
Now, astonishingly, this right here is everything required to make a 8-foot leather bullwhip. Animal fat. But before I start, I actually need to prep the laces. I need to treat them with a leather dressing that softens them and allows me to stretch them to bring them out to their natural state. Then I'm going to braid them. I'm going to do a 4-plate braid, that is using 4 laces, and this will comprise the inner and smallest core of the whip. This will be the center. Now you're starting to see where this is going. That is called the belly, the first belly, the interior belly of the whip. I'm going to cover this belly with a bolster, which is effectively a long triangle of leather. That bolster will then get another belly laid over it, because the Indiana Jones whips are what are called 2-belly whips.
The braided core and leather bolster is doubled up to form the second belly. And in the middle of this meticulous process, Adam couldn't be happier.
In case you haven't guessed already, I loves me the bullwhips. I started out inspired by Raiders. I'm done with the second belly, and I quickly learned that I love 2 distinct things about the practice. These will be the 12 laces that make the actual outer coating of the whip. One was that I love the practice itself, the craft of whip making. The meticulous, repetitive stretching, checking, cutting, lacing. It is deeply meditative. Hold on, I gotta drink my own urine. I'm kidding, I wasn't drinking my own urine. I was drinking someone else's. The second thing I love about it is the form and function coming together magnificently. I mean, you've got this beautiful form of a smooth leather object that is tapered from one end to the other.
Dude, it's looking so good.
And then that tapering turns out not just to be lovely and compelling, but in fact crucial for delivering the energy from your hand out to the tip of the whip with the maximum amount of strength. That is really cool.
I am really pleased with how this is looking.
For the finishing touches, Adam decorates the handle, and then to make the whip actually crack, attaches two thin strips called the fall and the cracker. But will all that work pay off with a working whip?
All right. Whew, this is very exciting. Oh, it sounds good. Yeah!
It's pretty loud. Can you hit anything with it?
You know, I've never actually tried.
Why don't I set something up?
Let's do it.
Indiana Jones nonchalantly and surgically disarmed his armed foe.
Come on.
Adam, however, can't seem to take out a few cans.
Not exactly precision shooting.
Until he gets real close and the laws of probability weigh in.
Yes.
He hit it.
As long as I've got 10, 12, 15 tries, you are in trouble, man.
Yep, to find out if you can indeed disarm armed adversaries, Adam and Jamie clearly need some expert help. And a spectacular change of scene to set up for some Temple Run fun.
Totally gonna get shot.
Indy's whip is a character in its own right in the Raiders films. And it does some unbelievable things in the film. First and foremost, he's able to disarm someone who pulls a gun on him, just pulling this off his belt and giving it a crack. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give that a crack.
But there's a problem.
Now, I'm pretty good at making these, but we've already established that I'm not that good at operating them.
Let's just say you're a work in progress.
Aren't we all?
Yep, to test Indy's mythical ability to disarm gun-toting foes, Adam and Jamie need a whole heap of whip-wielding tips from the very best in the business.
The science of the whip is the acceleration of kinetic energy. All energy added to the whip is multiplied. A small amount of focused energy literally produces explosive results.
Wherever I point the handle, this is where the whip is going to go. So I'm literally aiming with my whole body instead of this kind of, I sure hope this works.
That's pretty much the school I'm in.
Weight on the back foot, weight on the front foot.
We brought a lot of experts onto this show over the years, but Anthony might be my all-time favorite right now.
And then,
Now it's just timing.
I have rarely ever had someone teach me something so quickly.
Push.
And I got results I really didn't think were gonna happen within such a short period of time.
Open your hand, straighten your arm, close your hand.
hey,
Perfect.
that totally worked.
This is awesome. This is a far more precise tool than I thought it was.
Bend.
We've gotten a lot of the basics of whip handling from Anthony,
Excellent.
but now it's time to see if we can't use the whip to grab a gun out of somebody's hand. But it's important to note that we never actually see how Indy disarms the bad guy. So to cover all our bases, we're gonna run a couple of tests.
So stretch it out and send it out. Better, okay?
First, we're gonna see if that whip tip could wrap around the wrist and/or the gun and yank it in such a way as to spoil the shot. We're gonna see if a direct hit to the wrist with the whip tip is enough to make somebody drop the gun.
This is the scariest thing I've done all day.
Isn't it?
Go ahead.
That was perfect.
That was a nice crack. You got
It was
that.
right on the tip of your thumb.
Yeah.
That would have hurt a lot.
Jamie's making contact, but there's no mythical grab and aim-spoiling pull.
Go for the wrist. Go for the wrist, Hyneman. That's it.
Not quite the first-time accuracy of Indy. But novice Jamie is dialing in on the technique surprisingly quickly.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Good job.
All right, my turn. Did I get you?
Yeah. Adam missed his target a couple of times and connected with me instead. But he was actually able to wrap the tip of the whip around my hand to where he would be interfering with my aiming of that gun.
Yeah.
And that was actually pretty effective.
The grab and tug is clearly plausible. But what about the second option? The hit to the hand. Would that force you to drop the gun? Well, Jamie, with the short straw drawn, adds extra protection and prepares to face the whip-cracking might of the Whipmaster.
Ow. I'm positive I wouldn't have been able to hold on to that gun if I didn't have this glove on. It would be equivalent to somebody slicing at your hand with a sharp knife. You'd drop the gun.
Yep, without padding, Jamie's dropping the gun every single time.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I would have been able to hold on to this if I hadn't had this protection.
So, Anthony, it strikes me that we have enough experimental evidence gathered thus far to conclude that the first appearance of a whip in Raiders of the Lost Ark is actually pretty reasonable, that it is feasible to disarm someone with a gun if you're only holding a whip. Would you agree?
I do agree. I think a targeted strike to bare flesh is going to make it pretty much impossible to hang on to the gun, let alone operate it accurately.
So, this is plausible. Is that what you would do if you were in the same situation?
Absolutely not.
No? Okay, what would you do?
I would go straight for the face.
With the gun whip myth all tied up, it's time to set the scene for the temple run.
Not many people realize, but the Mayans built their temples just like this. Yeah.
And Adam's having a whole heap of fun.
Look, I know that some of the lengths we're going to seem a little bit over the top.
Now, I'm thinking right about this level.
Yeah, upper torso.
Yeah.
We could have just set up 16 paintball guns on like a wooden rack in about an hour and a half. But honestly, we couldn't. We're special effects guys. This is what we did for a living for decades.
Looks pretty good.
I know it looks like crap, but it's fun. It would offend our sensibilities not to make it look period and timely to the actual film we're replicating.
Of course, any decent temple's got its share of deities and gods, so we've got ours.
It would offend my sensibilities. Frankly, I think Jamie thinks this whole experiment is an excuse for me to dress up, which it might be.
While Adam completes the scene setting, Jamie's connected the pressure pad and gun one for a test run.
3, 2, 1. That works perfectly.
Perfectly, except for a timing tweak.
That was fantastic. Our Mayan temple dart room is operational, except with paintballs instead of darts. The only thing is, that hit was instantaneous. Pad touch, dart hit. And in the movie, there's actually a delay when Indy tests the rig. My question is, how much of a time delay is there between the time that torch pushes the pad and the time the dart hits the torch? That's 1 second. That's gonna be our delay.
Over to Jamie. It's tricky, but by inserting a timer between the pressure pad trigger and the air-powered paintball gun, he can delay the firing by the required 1 second. And with the guns not loaded, he steps up to test the timing. Hoosier, we have a problem.
That's, not quite what we had in mind.
If you wondered exactly how Adam and Jamie got the ball rolling on this Indiana Jones junket, wonder no more.
Believe it or not,
This is actually going to be our spherical Temple Run stone. Jamie's gonna love this.
Rise! Rise! This is just as much fun as I was hoping it would be.
This inflatable sphere will form the basis of their boulder.
I don't think I'm getting ahead of it. I'm gonna pass out.
And so far, it rocks.
Yeah! Oh, hey, man, check it out. It's our Temple Run ball. Whoa, dude!
You all right?
I could seriously mess with you in this.
You sure about that?
Dude, does this make a perfect Temple Run sphere or what?
Yeah, this is great.
All right, now, how do I get out?
This is perfect. It's our Temple Run ball. But it doesn't look like anything anyone in a movie would be frightened of.
So we're gonna have to scenic this puppy up.
That's sort of mimicking my birth. And luckily enough, Jamie and I did that for decades before we had this job.
So we've got our big clear plastic ball, but to make it look like a boulder, we had the idea that we'll take this two-part foam and mix it together and slather it all over the surface. If we do it kind of sloppy, but in the right way, it might just look like a big stone thing, which is what we want. So here we go. I've done hundreds and hundreds of little projects like this over a couple of decades of doing special effects. I think it's gonna work great. And it's actually kind of a joy to just get back into that world for a little bit while doing this. Pretty soon, this is gonna be solid. When I first started doing this work, it was in New York City at a model shop there, and the guy that ran the shop would see us doing our work, and he'd say, "It up. You gotta it up so it looks natural." See these little stripes here? That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. And that just means, you know, I haven't thoroughly mixed it. I've kind of it up.
By cutting corners on mixing the foam, Jamie's artwork has become more authentic. And 3 hours of satisfaction later, this Rolling Stone is ready to rumble.
That looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Wow. That looks like a piece of stone. Inflatable stone, no problem.
It's called safety stone. If this was real stone, I think it weighs somewhere around, give or take 20,000 pounds, depending on what kind of stone it was. In this case, it's probably around 300 pounds. Looks like a big rock to me.
As soon as this episode got rolling,
That's great.
it was clear the Mythbusters
One.
idolize all things Indy. And with one myth already cracked, the fun is set to continue. Or is it?
As it turns out, this timing setup that we put together is really screwing us up, because while they're delaying the firing of our valves like we want them to, they're also holding the valves open way too long, which means that by the time we get to the end of the array, our tank is empty.
Our solution is to actually give them more air, or more of a tank. I'm about to build that tank out of a bunch of PVC plumbing pipe. You stay while Jamie plays around with the timers.
And with the larger air supply hooked up, it's time for the Temple Run test run, take 2.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we wanted.
Yep.
With the rig successfully firing on the big cylinder, the set dressing is complete, The guns armed for action.
16 barrels, 16 paintballs. There we go.
And Adam's geared up, ready to run the paintball gauntlet.
Any second now, I'm gonna grab that idol and hightail it across this chamber. Now, if the myth is true, if the movie's version of events are correct, I should make it to the other side alive. That's what we're gonna find out.
Remember, their run has the same number of booby traps as the movie, and they'll shoot with the same 1-second delay.
You ready?
Yep.
See you down the other end.
Okay.
The question is, will Adam, who'll run with the same hunched, protective shuffle as Indy, make it out unscathed?
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Something's not turned on. That was anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic and a mystery.
3, 2, 1, go.
It's still not working.
Maybe even a Mayan mystery.
Well, I think it's clear what's going on here. It's this guy. Mythbusters is clearly suffering the idol's curse.
The circuit's not collapsing the way it should.
The curse may not be real, but ours are. This rig is kicking our butts.
Hold on, I gotta take all my off if we're gonna really solve this.
Some rolled sleeves and brainstorming later,
We're only gonna pressurize it to like, what, 70?
Yeah,
I mean, we could try that.
and they think they may have it sorted.
We have figured out the problem. It's a simple little dumb problem. We just got a couple of leads misplaced, and we should be up and running, literally running, in a minute.
A minute and a test fire later,
Oh, yeah. With vigor.
the curse of the crossed wires is lifted,
All right.
and the temple run is ready to rock.
3, 2, 1, go.
I didn't feel a thing. I don't think I got hit.
You were a mile ahead of me.
Really?
With a 1-second delay, you were halfway across the thing before they started to fire.
Fantastic. So Indy really could have made it out.
Easily.
We had all the parameters we needed from the setup of the temple in the film, and we applied them to our set and discovered that Indy would indeed have made it out alive with his idol, wouldn't he? But now, let's assume the Mayans could make darts that shot almost instantaneously as Indy ran.
We'll see whether he gets shot or not now.
Here we go. And frankly, I pretty much expect to get shot at this point. Totally gonna get shot.
Instantaneous firing in 3, 2, 1, go.
I totally got hit. I got one in my back. Right
That's the
there.
only one I see on you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, as I expected when we set the darts to instantaneous, I got shot and I'm dead. It's a poison dart after all. What I didn't expect is that I only got shot once. So as far as I'm concerned, if you ever find yourself looting a piece of precious Mayan gold from a temple while you're probably gonna die, I say run for your life.
So why do you think the Mayans set such a long delay on their dart mechanism?
Well, it is an ancient temple. Maybe the machinery was getting kind of rusty.
That's a good idea. So how do you want to call it?
Confirmed, I guess.
I'm there with you, but it is a fictional universe, so I'm inclined to give them plausible.
Suits me.
Okay.
At this point, I think it's worth pausing to discuss a little bit about how whips work and why their structure is intrinsic to how they work. Now, I'm sure everybody has had the experience of being at one end of a rope and giving it a flick and watching a bump travel down the length of the rope. That bump is a wave. When you flick the rope, you are actually propagating a wave, and a whip works in exactly the same way. Give the handle a flick, and a wave travels down the length of the whip. But a rope is uniform in its thickness all the way down, and a whip is tapered, thick at the handle, thin at the end. And that turns out to be key to how a whip actually does its job. When you give the handle a flick, the wave starts to travel at a certain speed, but as the whip gets thinner and thinner and thinner, that wave starts traveling faster and faster and faster because of how energy balances itself until it gets all the way out to the end of the cracker where, rumor has it, it breaks the speed of sound.
I think it's worth pausing right now to take you on a little tour of the wonder that is Indiana Jones' outfit. Pants are wool. There's a leather gun belt, which only holds up the gun holster. That's a cavalry-style gun holster. The gun is a 6-shot 45 caliber pre-war revolver. The whip, as we've already learned in this episode, is a 2-belly, 2-bolster, 12-plate overlay kangaroo hide whip between 8 and 10 feet long. Moving on up, Indy wears a satchel. That satchel is, in fact, a World War II gas mask bag. Fun little fact, this bag did not exist at the very moment in time the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark was supposed to have happened. Ha! Film. And then on top of all that goes the leather jacket. Finally, the hat, made of fine beaver felt. The maker of this hat actually makes them for the Indiana Jones films. You cannot get any more accurate than this. This is one of my regular daily wear-around hats. There you go. Happy Halloween. So all episode, we've been learning the mechanics and the operation of whips, and we've actually gotten pretty good at it. Yeah. But before we continue, we think that we'd be remiss if we didn't address the idea that a whip is supposed to break the speed of sound. Is this really true? Is there enough of the kinetic energy transfer from the handle out to the end? That's what we are about to test. All right. Using our high-speed camera and all of the stagecraft we've learned in 10 years of doing this show, we're gonna try and prove that the end of the whip breaks the speed of sound. 3, 2, 1.
Because the tip of the whip is moving so fast and over such a large area, it makes it really difficult to see where and when it's making the crack. Yeah, the tip's starting to swing around at about 4D. So with that in mind, we've created this background with a grid on it. Yeah, right about there, a little bit below it, so we can hopefully zoom in on it with the high-speed camera.
Oh, spank, right on the same mark.
But with the camera recording at the 6,000 frames per second required to measure the speed of sound, zooming in and capturing the exact moment of the crack is a very tricky task.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Too low. Try that.
In terms of time, this is like looking for a needle in a haystack. There's a lot of increments when you're looking at 6,000 frames per second to find the exact instant that that passes through the frame.
Yep, not only does Adam have to get a clean crack
That was too low.
and pull off the unlikely feat of hitting the exact same mark, the guys then have to find those 4 or 5 frames of action.
So the signal you're watching me on right now is transmitting 29.9 something frames per second.
Hello.
I'm aiming at the same spot every single time. Our high-speed camera is catching almost 2 seconds of footage at 6,000 frames per second. That's gonna be too high. It is, it's a little bit of a hunt and peck.
I want to go for the loudest possible crack because I think it's traveling the fastest possible speed. But it's hard for me to do that on a one-off. But up here, I've been getting into a rhythm of 4 cracks in a row where by the 4th one, I've got the loudest and I'm able to aim it exactly where I want. So that's the technique I'm gonna take back downstairs to try and get this on camera, breaking the speed of sound. Let's try that.
There it is.
Finally, in glorious 6,000 frames per second high speed. Now, how fast is it going right here?
That's 5 frames to travel 12 inches. .200 feet per second. That beats the speed of sound. That is awesome! We caught the speed of sound being broken by these little fuzzies. That is so cool.
It took hours of atom whipping for us to finally capture that tiny piece of string traveling over the speed of sound in front of this grid. But we finally cracked it, so to speak.
With the science whipped into shape, Adam and Jamie head back to the warehouse to test the whip's mythical ability to swing Indy to safety.
This story has Indy swinging across a chasm on his whip. Yeah.
Boom. Cool.
And since we don't happen to have a chasm ready to go, we decided to build our own.
This thing weighs 5,000 pounds empty. You got room, you can keep coming in. Kill someone in a heartbeat. Pull, pull, pull. Yeah.
We're using these containers, which we love,
That's it. Perfect over here. Miles, pull.
because they're kind of like big bricks. Yeah! Woo! We can build whatever we want instantly. Thread the needle.
But like a 5,000-pound needle. Now, the containers here stacked up represent exactly 1/2 of our chasm. All right, here we go. We're going to bring in the other pair of containers and make the other half of the chasm. They're going to be a certain distance apart, but how far apart is the real question?
An answer found with a little high-speed camera magic.
That was good.
So we've got my jump on high speed, but how are we going to use that to determine how wide our chasm is, especially since I'm jumping on flat ground and Indy was jumping across a chasm which he hit the edge of with his chest. Editors, can you help me out, please, and load up the high-speed footage of my jump? Excellent. Okay, now, fast forward until my foot leaves the starting line, right there, and put a dot on my chest. Great. Now continue to put dots on my chest through the full arc of my jump until my left foot touches the ground. Excellent. Now, draw a line that intersects all those dots until you've got a curve, and continue that curve until it hits the ground where my number stripes are. Perfect. Okay, can you count up how many number stripes those are? 12? Beautiful. That is the distance of our chasm, 12 feet.
With the exact distance marked off, the far side of the chasm is dropped into position.
Nice!
Some protective padding put in place.
That's a long way to fall.
The key structural component brought up.
This is our branch.
Some more safety measures manhandled.
Indy never fought a beast like this. This is like a Doctor Who villain. Yeah, that's it!
Before the movie-accurate scene is set
Good luck there, buddy. I'm going to stand back here.
for Adam's date with whip-swinging destiny.
This test is all about the relationship between the whip and the tree branch. And so we've looked very closely at the film and tried to replicate the diameter of that tree branch with this log and its placement above the chasm. Now, the next thing that we've got to do is take our whip and throw it across the tree branch and see whether it creates a knot that's strong enough to hold a person.
Here we go.
Because if it ain't,
I've waited my whole life for this moment.
they're falling to their death.
But before Adam tests the strength of the swing,
Oh, hey.
Wasn't bad.
That was not bad.
he has to actually secure the whip on the log.
This test goes down in history as one of my all-time favorites. But it did not start out looking that rosy. Oh. First, just trying to wrap the whip around the log, I was not getting enough surface area, not getting enough friction.
I want to feel that solid bite. The leather on the log.
What I really needed was a kind of a knot. Actually, the technical term is a half hitch.
Oh, that looks so promising.
You had a crossover.
I did. I need a second crossover.
But that tested my whip wielding skills to the absolute limit.
Dude,
That's not bad.
I think I got a hitch. Oh, man.
Well, good luck there, buddy. I'm going to stand back here.
With the whip grip seemingly secure, this is it.
This is terrible. Actually, I'm genuinely scared.
Was Indy's mythical swing to freedom feasible or a fictional fancy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm okay.
So I got the loop around the log. It felt really, really secure.
I think I got a hitch.
And then just before my feet reach the other side, the whip unwinds from the log and I go tumbling.
All right, we got to try this again. That was too much fun.
Even though Adam fell, I have to say I'm surprised he did as well as he did, because from this distance, you're only going to get around 3 wraps out of it. There you go. So a single half hitch holding a close to 200-pound guy, pretty low odds if you ask me. Yeah, you're moving the whole log, dude.
Am I?
Yeah, I think you're going to do it, buddy.
Here we go. I thought that was gonna be mine!
Once again, the whip and potentially the myth unravels at the last second. But as Edison almost said, mythbustering is 1% inspiration and 99% repeatedly throwing yourself into a chasm for science.
Oh, dude.
Well, no guts, no glory.
No guts, no glory. 3, 2, 1.
You're going to make it. Oh!
Oh, drat! Oh! 3 times so far, I have attempted to lasso our log with my whip and swing across this chasm, and 3 times, just as glory seemed within my grasp, the whip slipped and I fell to my death. But for due diligence, we are going to cover our log with some bark-like friction material and give it another go.
This sandpaper or our pseudo bark may not seem like that much, but it may not actually take that much to allow the whip to bite. Without this, it can just slide. It's almost like it's lubricated. With this, it'll just give it a little bit of tooth so that those coils can actually cinch onto the log.
All right. One more time?
Go for it.
Okay, here we go.
So what difference will this small real-world detail make? A first-time grip, and it's looking good. But Adam's been burned before.
As many times as I've done this, it's still scary. All right. It's now or never. Here we go. Yeah! Give me some!
You could say Adam's happy with the result.
Not quite an Indy reaction, but dude, we totally did it.
Yeah.
All right, throw me the idol. Come on.
Well, the question now is, can you get it off there?
Oh, right, okay, here we go. Come on, come on. So once we added a little bit of friction, some bark to our log, the whip grabbed easily, and I swung across handily. It was beautiful. Come on, baby. Come on, this is the final thing. Indy's whip grabs when you want and lets go when you want. Come on, guys, come on. Now, I still don't think the whip has the kind of magical properties that Indy uses it as an extension of his hands.
How does this work? There we go. Almost. Awesome.
But we've pretty much proved it can do everything we've seen in the movie.
With that, this archaeological adventure romps to a conclusion. And Indy's iconic status is quo. Dr. Jones was not doomed in the temple.
Indy really could have made it out.
Easily.
And when it comes to a tight spot,
You're gonna make it.
his trusty weapon
I think you're gonna do it, buddy.
is all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah!